Wow, the art of happiness. What a title to a video, Christ. God, these are the videos that I dread the most, right? Because when you start to lay out your definition of things and, and again, like sort of peeling off a little bit before we get started is, like when I'm sort of doing these videos in terms of documenting my journey, because that's kind of how I sort of envision it. So we go through all the training side of things, the marathon prep, and I'm trying to be vulnerable and trying to sort of be as authentic as I possibly can of what I'm going through. But again, the moment the camera turns on, it's not always easy to be myself. Again, I've sort of referenced this in past videos, how there's this tendency the moment the camera comes on for me to want to be a polished version of myself. And again, that's not life, right? So, but very much like the way I live is again, the reason I called my company and this channel the Sohei Training Club is because Sohei stands for monk warrior, right? So my physical pursuits, the marathons, the ultra marathons, the weightlifting, the training is the developing of the warrior component. But then the monk component is more philosophical. It's about understanding me as an individual. And I mean, I guess we're all on a little bit of a journey, right? And I think it'd be a shame to go through this whole life and not really know me. And I'm a huge fan of self-inquiry, asking myself tough questions. This was something that I really learned about when I worked with Nick Dark. So she's sort of, I don't even know how you define her really. Do we need to worry about definitions? But I worked with her for 6 weeks as a coach, and more of a life coach really, I guess is a nice way of putting it, because she just basically asked me questions that I went away and tried my best in my haphazard manner, and with all my ignorance and all my stupidity, I tried to answer to the best of my ability. And I think that is self-inquiry, being honest with yourself, removing the sound bites of what you've heard before in the past and sort of trying to dissolve away like what you think other people want to hear, and just be honest. Like, what do I believe about something? So when it comes to happiness is, I guess, a lot of people put it down as something that they want to attain in life, right? They want it's a goal that they have, and I'm not sure is that a good goal, or is it even possible to sort of be happy all the time? Is it even desirable? I'm not even sure. But I wanted to sort of in this video just try and lay out as best I can. We'll see how well that flows and comes out, what my definition of happiness is, because I did a video on Instagram last week where I sort of laid out a little bit of a definition of happiness, or at least what works for me when I think about happiness. And I wanted to go into a little bit deeper context. So again, obviously with the format of YouTube, or the medium of YouTube, is that we can dive a bit deeper. So on the Instagram, it was like a 1.5 minute, 2 minute video. But, I feel that the more I sort of think about it now, the more I process it, the more, the more meat is on the bone, right? And the more we can kind of play with. And it's understanding that with all these videos with this one and anyone that I do in the future that's more discussing the deeper context of life, essentially, like, this is my opinion. I'm not even sure I'm right, but this is, if I strip everything away, this is what I believe right now, and I'm open to learning more and discovering more, because we're all constantly evolving in life, and I'm constantly learning, constantly intrigued and curious that this definition might change a little bit. But when I made that video last week on Instagram, there was a few people that reached out that really enjoyed it and took something from it. And I think that, if me getting a little bit uncomfortable and articulating what I think and being open to critique, if that even helps someone a little bit, whether it's this video or any further one, then for me, that's worth it. And I think that is, I guess, the journey that I'm kind of on when it comes to creating these videos. Yes, there's nice polished edits that I like to do, but this one is just going to be raw and just unedited and just drop straight onto YouTube, and it is what it is, so be kind, guys. So when I did that video last week, what I was kind of saying in the topic of this is that happiness, to begin with, is, I think, can mean something different to me as it can to anyone else watching this, right? We can all have to have our own definition of happiness, and this is the importance of self-inquiry. Like, what is my definition of happiness? What is your definition of happiness? And if you never really ask yourself the question, you're just going to take on someone else's answer, or something that sounds good, or maybe you just don't know. Maybe you're chasing something that you don't even have a definition for, which I'm not sure is a worthwhile pursuit. But for me, happiness, or my happiness, is 100% my responsibility. Okay, it's not for anyone or anything to make me happy. Happiness, as corny as it freaking sounds, comes from within. Because I think in today's world, it's all too easy to start attaching happiness onto external things. Okay, I'll be happy when I'm with this person, or I'll be happy when I get that job or get that house or earn this much money. The issue then is that you become a slave to the outcome. You become a slave to, I'll only be happy when I get this thing. But then if you don't get it, are you not happy anymore? Like this, we need to cultivate happiness from within. And I think the way I kind of think about that is, happiness is an ebb and a flow, right? There's going to be times in your life when you get the promotion or you get the car that your happiness will go up. And then there's times in life where it will go down when someone gets unwell, or when you get injured or break a leg or someone dies. Like, you're not going to be happy all the time, right? And I think the foundation of happiness, and it was Naval Ravikant that once said that peace is the foundation of happiness, or peace is happiness at rest, which I absolutely love, right? Because I think that is ultimately what I'm striving for. It's to be at peace. Okay, because to be at peace with, and I think peace comes in three trifecta, right? I think we need to find peace with our past, all the mistakes we've made, the traumas we've been through, the ups, the downs, because we can carry that with us like a weight in a backpack. It can weigh us down. We're constantly looking back and resenting past or whatever, and we can start to blame people. We can play the victim and we can say, why me? Or we can blame others and say it's all your fault. But we need to find peace with that and let it go, right? Because it's only going to hold us back from where we stand now and where we move into the future. So we need to find peace with our past. We then need to try and find peace with the present, right? We need to find peace with who I am when I stand here right now making this video, like learning to love who the person I see in the mirror. We all get caught into this trap of self-loathing a little bit. I mean, I definitely have in the past, and I've worked with a lot of individuals with coaching, and it's, a lot of them that I'll be happy when I look a certain way, and they look at themselves in the mirror and they don't like what they see. And that's a very tough place to be, right? Because they're not at peace with who they are, what they see in the mirror. And that comes with a little bit of taking responsibility. We need to take responsibility for who we are right now and where we're at, and find peace with, I am where I am, and we can only move forward from here. There's no point resenting ourselves or loathing ourselves or not liking ourselves because of where we're at, because it doesn't serve us in the greater project of our life, right? And then we need to find peace with our future. Are we moving in the direction that is fulfilling to us? Are we excited about the trajectory that we're on? And when we find alignment with our past, our present, and our future, that for me is true peace. And that is where true happiness can be attained. And when we're no longer seeking external validation or external things to make us happy, we've got it within, because I'm on the journey. And there was, again, I used this quote in that Instagram post where it was, and I always get the name wrong, but I should probably write it down and have a look. But I think it's Jiddu Krishnamurti. And so he's an Indian philosopher. I'll put it on the thing. I'm not going to actually, because I'm not going to edit this. I'm just going to put it out. But yeah, I think it's Jiddu Krishnamurti. I'm getting that wrong. Anyway, but he said in answer to the question what his secret to happiness was, is that my secret is I don't mind what happens. And my interpretation of that quote, and what I love about that quote, is that if you're at peace with who you are, where you've been, where you are now, and where you're heading, and excited about the journey that you're on, I'm not reliant on the outcome. I'm excited about the process, because I honestly believe that happiness is a direction, not a destination. Okay, there's no one place I'm going to get to that I'm like, I'm perfectly happy. It's the direction I'm heading. And with that direction, it's the alignment of all three of my past, my present, and my future. When I orientate all of those things into this, or align those things into the same path, and orientate them towards a future that I'm excited about and happy about, that is happiness. That is the journey we're on, the mission we're on is that direction. It's not the destination. The destination will be the destination. Things will happen, the outcomes will happen, and I'm not reliant on them to fulfill me in any way, shape, or form. And I think that, if I'm to try and encapsulate what I mean by what is happiness, it's that. It's a direction, not a destination. And we can't really truly move forward into the direction until we've aligned all of those things. And the way I like to think about this is that if we're not at peace with ourselves, okay, if it's a chaotic place to be within ourselves, we're always going to seek distractions to take me away from this, right? If the house that I live in is chaos and I hate being there, I'm not going to want to be at home, okay? Our inner sanctuary should be who we are. We should love to sit with ourselves and to meditate, whether it's meditation or just sitting in silence. I don't even want to sort of sort of spoil the water by sort of even saying the word meditation, because a lot of people find it hard to sit in silence. But then my question is why? Is it because it's too chaotic in your mind, or is it you're not at peace with who you are or your thoughts? Because if I'm not at peace with who I am, I'm always going to look for distractions. Every time I'm on my own, I'm going to put my headphones in. I'm guilty of this, and it's like every time I'm in the car driving somewhere, I'm going to put the radio on. And there's nothing wrong with it unless we're using it as a tool of distracting ourselves from ourselves. Because once we start to distract ourselves from ourselves, we're always going to be looking for externals to fill the hole. When actually, we need to find peace within. We need to find peace with who we are, where we've been, where we stand currently, and where we're heading. And when we do that, that for me is when we've orientated ourselves and aligned ourselves to the point where now we are in a position to find happiness within. And that, my friends, is a long-winded answer to what I believe happiness is. And you know what? It's not a polished answer, because I do think it's a difficult question to answer. And you will have potentially a different definition for yourselves, and I will have a different definition, and other people, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine that we do that. But if you never ask the question to yourself, you'll never get the answer. And ultimately, the journey of this life and where we're heading is about figuring out who I am. And once I do that, I can figure out the direction I'm heading and what it is I want from life. And that is life. So, like it, dislike it, it is what it is. But there is my definition of the art of happiness as I see it, and the messy answer that was. But yeah, chuck a comment, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's go.